Grand Admiral Kravos stood aboard the flagship Eternal Dominion, watching his fleet assemble. 10,000 warships from across Council space gathered in formation, representing the combined military might of 800 species. It was the largest armada ever created, powerful enough to conquer entire sectors, unstoppable by any known force in the galaxy, and it was all heading to one small blue planet. Status report, Kravos ordered. His species resembled large crustaceans, with thick armor plating and multiple eyes that could see in different spectrums simultaneously. All vessels report ready, Grand Admiral, his tactical officer replied. We await your command to jump to the Sol system. Kravos felt satisfaction ripple through his shell. Humans had been lucky so far, striking isolated targets with cowardly hit-and-run tactics, but now they would face real military power. Now they would learn what happened when you defied the Council. Begin the jump sequence. We end this today. The massive fleet activated their faster-than-light drives. Space twisted around 10,000 ships as they leaped across the galaxy toward Earth. In the Sol system, alarms screamed through every human facility. Admiral Hyun had expected this, but the scale still took his breath away. His sensors showed the incoming fleet, and the numbers made his blood run cold. 10,000 ships, Commander Jiwon reported, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. They outnumber us nearly 4-1. What about our defenses? Captain Daeho asked from his station. Autonomous platforms are active. Mines are deployed. Every defensive measure we have is online. Hyun activated the fleet-wide channel. All ships, this is Admiral Hyun. Battle stations. Execute defensive plan Omega. Today we show them what it means to attack Earth. Across the system, 3,000 human warships powered their weapons and shields. They were outnumbered, outgunned on paper, but they had advantages the Council could not imagine. The Council fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. Kravos immediately noticed something wrong. The system was not empty. Instead of just Earth and its defensive satellites, thousands of platforms floated throughout the solar system. What are those? He demanded. Scanning now, sir. They appear to be autonomous defense platforms. Weapons, shields, power cores. Thousands of them. Kravos laughed, a clicking sound that echoed through his bridge. Automated defenses. How primitive. All ships advance. Destroy anything that moves. The Grand Armada pushed forward, confident and overwhelming. They reached the orbit of Neptune before the first platforms opened fire. The defensive platforms did not use conventional weapons. They used railguns that fired projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed, plasma cannons that could burn through shields in seconds, and missile swarms guided by artificial intelligence that made them nearly impossible to evade. They had been designed by Young-ho and Earth's best engineers specifically to counter Council tactics. The first wave of Council ships took heavy damage before they even realized they were under attack. Shields collapsed. Hulls breached. Ships that had patrolled for decades without seeing combat suddenly found themselves in a fight for survival. Return fire, Kravos ordered. All batteries maximum power. The Council fleet responded with their own weapons, destroying platforms by the hundreds. But for every platform destroyed, 3 more appeared to take its place. And behind the platforms, moving in formations that seemed random, but were actually precisely calculated, came Earth's warships. Junho, a human intelligence officer who had spent months infiltrating Council networks, sat in a secure facility deep beneath Earth's surface. His fingers danced across keyboards as he executed the final phase of his mission. Every piece of malware he had planted, every backdoor he had created, every vulnerability he had discovered in the Council's systems activated simultaneously. Malware deployed, Junho reported to Minister Minji, who stood beside him. Their command networks are compromised. Across the Council fleet, tactical displays began showing false information. Friendly ships appeared as enemies. Enemy positions were shown in wrong locations. Targeting systems malfunctioned. Communication channels filled with static and corrupted data. The carefully coordinated armada began to fragment as ships lost their ability to work together effectively. Admiral Hyun watched the chaos through his sensors and smiled grimly. Now we show them what human warfare really looks like. All ships execute attack pattern Delta. Hit them hard. Hit them fast and do not give them time to recover. The human fleet split into dozens of smaller groups, each one moving independently but coordinated through quantum encrypted communications that the Council could not intercept or jam. They did not fight like the Council expected. They did not form neat battle lines or follow established tactical doctrines. Instead, they swarmed like angry hornets, striking weak points, retreating before the enemy could respond, then striking again from a different angle. Captain Sun Wu commanded a squadron of fast attack ships. His vessels were smaller than the Council's cruisers but far more maneuverable. He led his ships in a diving attack against a Council battleship, targeting its engine sections with precision strikes. All weapons, focus fire on the port engine cluster, Sun Wu ordered. 3-second burst, then break off and scatter. His ships unleashed a barrage of missiles and energy weapons. The Council battleship's shields held, but barely. Before the battleship could target them in return, Sun Wu's squadron split in 12 different directions, each ship moving in an unpredictable pattern. The Council battleship tried to track them but could not keep up with their erratic movements. By the time its weapons locked onto one ship, that ship was already somewhere else. Meanwhile, Sun Wu's squadron regrouped and attacked from a new angle, this time targeting the weakened shields. On the third attack run, the battleship's shields collapsed. Human weapons tore into its hull, destroying engines and weapon systems. The mighty battleship, which had been expected to survive the entire battle without serious damage, was crippled within 10 minutes. This scene repeated across the battlefield. Human tactics, developed through thousands of years of warfare against each other, proved devastatingly effective against Council forces who had not faced a real challenge in centuries. Where the Council relied on overwhelming firepower and strong defenses, humans relied on speed, unpredictability, and exploiting every weakness they could find. Grand Admiral Kravos watched his fleet take losses and felt something he had never experienced in his long military career: doubt. His forces still outnumbered the humans significantly, but the casualties were far higher than predicted. Every minute of battle, dozens more ships fell to human weapons. "Sir, we have lost contact with the 3rd and 7th battle groups," his tactical officer reported. 8th battle group reports 50% casualties, requesting permission to withdraw. Denied. Kravos roared. "We outnumber them 4-1. Press the attack." All ships focus on destroying their capital ships. Once their command structure falls, the rest will surrender. But the humans did not have a traditional command structure. Every captain was trained to operate independently. Every ship could make its own tactical decisions. When Council forces focused on what they thought were command ships, they discovered those ships were just as deadly and maneuverable as the rest of the fleet. The battle raged for 3 days. The Council's numerical advantage slowly eroded as human tactics and superior technology took their toll. Space around Earth became a graveyard of broken ships and expanding debris fields, and still the humans fought on with a ferocity that shocked the Council forces. On the 3rd day, Kravos finally accepted the truth. He had started with 10,000 ships. Now he had less than 6,000, and many of those were damaged. Meanwhile, the human fleet, while also reduced, still fought with undiminished intensity. "Grand Admiral," his tactical officer said quietly, "we should consider withdrawal. We have lost too many ships." At this rate we lose," Kravos finished. The words tasted like poison. "Signal the fleet. Fall back to the outer system. We regroup and reassess." As the Council fleet began its retreat, Admiral Hyun allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. They had done it. Against overwhelming odds, they had held Earth and bloodied the Council's nose badly. But the cost had been high. 1,000 human ships destroyed, tens of thousands of crew members dead, and the Council fleet, though damaged, was still a massive threat. Commander Jiwon looked at the casualty reports and felt sick. "We won, but at what price?" "The price of freedom," Hyun replied. "And we are not done yet." "Captain Daeho, any word from Ambassador Soyeon?" Daeho nodded. "She reports success. 5 species have agreed to support us in secret. They were already unhappy with the Council, and our battle here has convinced them that we might actually win this war." "Then the tide is turning," Hyun said. "The Council thought they could crush us with one overwhelming strike. Instead, they learned that humans do not crush easily. And now others are watching. Others are wondering if the Council is as invincible as they claim." In orbit around Earth, human ships began recovery operations, pulling survivors from destroyed vessels and repairing damaged ships. They had won the battle, but the war was far from over. The Council would regroup. They would send more ships. 3 months had passed since the vote. Admiral Hyun stood on the bridge of the warship Indomitable, watching the holographic display of the Sol system. Red markers surrounded the entire perimeter, each one representing an enemy vessel. 217 ships from a dozen different species formed a complete blockade around humanity's home. They are really serious about this, Commander Ji-won said beside him. She was younger than Hyun, barely 30, but her tactical mind was sharper than anyone he had ever met. They want to make an example of us, Hyun replied. Show the rest of the galaxy what happens when you displease the mighty council. On the display, a human colony ship approached the blockade, heading toward the nearest star system. It was filled with 10,000 colonists, families who had dreamed of starting fresh on a new world. They never reached it. 3 alien warships intercepted the colony vessel. There was no warning, no communication. They simply opened fire. The colony ship's shields collapsed in seconds. Its hull breached in a dozen places. 10,000 souls died in the cold vacuum of space. Ji-won's hands trembled. Sir, we have to do something. Not yet, Hyun said, though his own anger burned hot in his chest. Send the recall order. All human vessels return to Earth immediately. Over the next week, every human ship in space received the message. Mining vessels, research stations, exploration craft, all of them turned around and headed home. To the Galaxy Council watching from their blockade, it looked like compliance. It looked like humanity was accepting its cage. They had no idea how wrong they were. Hyun activated a secure channel. Minister Minji, this is Admiral Hyun. Protocol Exodus is now active. On Earth, in the Defense Ministry's secure bunker, Minji received the message. She looked older now, her hair showing streaks of gray that were not there 3 months ago. The rejection had changed her, hardened her, confirmed Admiral. Proceed with activation. Hyun turned to his crew. Take us to the rendezvous point. Silent running, maximum stealth. The Indomitable's engines powered down to minimal levels. Its hull activated specialized plating that absorbed sensor waves rather than reflecting them. To anyone watching, the ship simply vanished. They traveled for 3 days into deep space far beyond the orbit of Pluto, into the darkness between stars where even the sun was just another bright dot. And there, Hyun saw something that filled him with fierce pride. Ships. Hundreds of them. Sleek, deadly, and completely invisible to council sensors. They hung in the void like sleeping predators waiting for the moment to strike. My God, Ji-won whispered. How long have we been building these? 50 years, Hyun answered. Since the first time a council probe entered our system. Since the first time we realized they existed and might not be friendly. Every nation on Earth contributed. Every secret space program. Every hidden shipyard. Every classified technology project. All for this moment. A smaller ship approached the Indomitable. Its airlocks connected and a young man stepped onto the bridge. He wore the insignia of Earth's Research and Development Division. His name was Young-ho, and he was the lead engineer for humanity's most ambitious project. Admiral, Young-ho greeted with a slight bow. Welcome to the fleet. I trust you are pleased with what you see. How many ships do we have? 347 completed. Another 200 will be ready within 6 months. Each one is equipped with technology the Council has never seen before. The quantum slip drives? Hyun asked. Young-ho smiled. Working perfectly. We can move through space without creating the energy signatures that normal faster-than-light travel produces. To their sensors, we simply do not exist until we want to be seen. Ji-won studied the data streaming onto her display. These specifications, Admiral, these ships are more advanced than anything the Council has. Our weapons have greater range. Our shields are stronger. Our engines are faster. How is that possible? Because the Council grew comfortable, Young-ho explained. They have been the dominant power for so long that they stopped innovating. They stopped pushing boundaries. Meanwhile, humans had to catch up thousands of years of development in just a few decades. We could not afford to be comfortable. We had to be better. Hyun walked to the viewport and looked at the hidden fleet. And the drones? Already deployed, Young-ho confirmed. 3,000 reconnaissance drones slipped through their blockade last week. They have been mapping Council positions, recording their patrol patterns, analyzing their technology. Everything we need to know about our enemy. What have you learned? Minji's voice came through the secure channel from Earth. Young-ho brought up a display that made everyone on the bridge go silent. It showed 12 star systems, each one marked with a red X. The Council has done this before. 12 times they quarantined species they deemed too dangerous, And 12 times when those species tried to break free, the Council exterminated them. Complete genocide. Every man, woman, and child. They erased entire civilizations from existence. The bridge was silent. Jiwon looked sick. Even Hyun, a veteran of many conflicts, felt his stomach turn. They planned to do the same to us eventually. Young-ho continued. Our drones found the orders. In 6 months, if we had not shown complete submission, they were going to sterilize Earth. Kill all 8 billion of us. The blockade was never about containment. It was about studying us before they wiped us out. Minji's voice was cold when she spoke again. Then we have no choice. If we do nothing, we die. If we fight, we might die. But at least we die on our feet. What are your orders, Minister? Hyun asked. The Council thinks they have caged us. They think we are helpless. Show them they are wrong. Target their supply lines first. Make them afraid. Make them understand what it means to threaten humanity. Hyun turned to Jiwon. Commander, select your best pilots. I want strike teams ready to launch in 24 hours. Targets, sir? Start with their supply depot in Frontier Sector 7. It is far from their main forces, lightly defended, and absolutely critical to their operations. We hit them hard, we hit them fast, and we disappear before they know what happened. Young-ho handed Jiwon a data chip. Everything you need to know about their defenses. Patrol schedules, weak points, optimal attack vectors. The drones found it all. Over the next day, the hidden fleet prepared for war. Pilots checked their fighters. Engineers armed the weapons. Tacticians planned every detail of the assault. And deep in the ship, in a small chapel, some crew members prayed. They prayed for success, for survival, and for forgiveness for what they were about to do. Admiral Hyun did not pray. He stood on the bridge and watched the stars. Somewhere out there, the Galaxy Council sat in their comfortable seats, believing they had won. Believing humanity would simply accept extinction, they were about to learn a harsh lesson. Throughout human history, whenever someone tried to cage humanity, to control it, to destroy it, humans did what they did best. They adapted. They innovated. They survived. And they fought back with a fury that shook worlds. The blockade around Earth continued its patrol, unaware that deep in the darkness, humanity's true fleet was preparing to strike. The Council had made their choice. They had voted against Earth. They had threatened extinction. Now humanity would cast its own vote. And it would be written in fire and steel across the galaxy. The chamber was massive, carved from a single asteroid that floated in the neutral space above Axis Prime. Inside, representatives from 847 species sat in their designated sections. Some breathed oxygen, others methane. Some had bodies made of crystal, others of pure energy contained in magnetic fields. They all gathered for one purpose today: to vote on Earth's application to join the Galactic Council. Captain Daiho stood at the center platform, his dark uniform crisp and clean. Beside him, Ambassador Minji held a data tablet with trembling hands. They had spent 3 years preparing for this moment. 3 years of meetings, presentations, and diplomatic dinners with species they could barely pronounce the names of. 3 years of hope. The Council Prime, a being called Velthar, floated above them all. Its body looked like living crystal, constantly shifting colors from blue to purple to green. It had existed for over 2,000 years and had presided over the Council for the last 5 centuries. When it spoke, its voice echoed through every translator in the chamber. We have reviewed humanity's application, Velthar announced. We have studied their history, their culture, their technology, and their nature. The time has come to vote. Daiho felt his heart pound. Minji glanced at him, her eyes hopeful. They had done everything right. Earth had shared its technology, opened its borders to Council observers, and proved it could contribute to galactic civilization. Surely the vote would go their way. Senator Kickstall rose from the reptilian section. His scales gleamed under the artificial lights, and his forked tongue flickered as he spoke. I wish to address the Council before we vote. Velthar nodded, granting permission. Humans are dangerous, Kickstall hissed. Look at their history. Thousands of years of war. They fight each other over resources, over beliefs, over mere insults. They split the atom and immediately used it as a weapon. They barely stopped themselves from destroying their own planet a dozen times. And now they want to join us? To bring their violence into our peaceful galaxy? Murmurs of agreement rippled through various sections. Daiho clenched his fist but remained silent. They had expected this argument. Minji stepped forward. Senator, if I may respond, You may not, Kixtal interrupted. This is council deliberation. You are merely applicants. Velthar said nothing, which meant Kixtal was correct. Humans had no voice here, only the right to be present. Humans are too aggressive, another senator added. This one from a species that looked like floating jellyfish. Too unpredictable. Too primitive in their thinking. They still practice capitalism, another voice called out. They let their people starve while others have too much. They have over 200 different languages. They cannot even unify their own communications. Their emotions control them. They make decisions based on feelings rather than logic. One by one, senators stood and listed humanity's flaws. Deho listened to each accusation, his jaw tight. Some criticisms were fair. Others were based on misunderstandings or outdated information. But it did not matter. The council had already decided. Let us vote, Velthar finally declared. The chamber filled with light as each representative cast their vote. The results appeared on massive holographic displays for everyone to see. Red for rejection, green for acceptance, blue for abstention. The display filled with red. 846 red lights. Only one blue light flickered in the entire display. Deho stared at the results, his mind going numb. Not a single green vote, not one species supported Earth's membership. The vote is concluded, Velthar announced. Earth's application for council membership is rejected. Minji's tablet slipped from her fingers and clattered on the platform. She looked like someone had struck her. Deho reached out and steadied her with a hand on her shoulder. However, Velthar continued, and the chamber fell silent. The council has additional concerns about humanity. We have witnessed your expansion attempts. Your colony ships approach our borders. Your probes enter our territories. Your species spreads too quickly, too aggressively. Deho's blood ran cold. This was more than a simple rejection. Therefore, the council issues the following edict. Humanity is hereby quarantined to the Sol system. No human vessel may cross beyond your system's heliopause. No human expansion will be tolerated. Any violation of this quarantine will be met with immediate military response, up to and including complete sterilization of your homeworld. The words hung in the air like poison. Minji gasped. Several alien species in the chamber made sounds that their translators interpreted as approval or satisfaction. Deho finally spoke, his voice calm and steady. You are making a mistake. Laughter erupted from multiple sections. Kixtal's hissing chuckle was the loudest. Is that a threat, human? Velthar asked, its crystalline body shifting to a dark red color. No, Deho replied. It is a warning. We came here in peace. We offered friendship and cooperation. We have shown you that humans can be more than their past. But if you cage us, if you treat us like criminals for the crime of existing, then you will discover exactly why you feared us in the first place. The chamber fell silent. No one laughed now. Kixtal stood again. You see? Even now they threaten violence. This proves we made the correct decision. Velthar floated lower until it was eye level with Deho. Captain, you will return to Earth. You will inform your leaders of the Council's decision, and you will remain in your system. If you do not, we will remove you from the galaxy permanently. We have done it before to species who refuse to comply. We will do it again if necessary. Deho held Velthar's gaze. The ancient being had probably intimidated thousands of species over its long life, but it had never met a human before. Not really. We will leave, Deho said quietly. But remember this day, Council Prime. Remember that you had the chance to make us your friends. You chose to make us something else instead. He turned and helped Minji to her feet. Together they walked toward the exit. Behind them, the council was already moving on to other business, dismissing Earth as if it were nothing more than a minor inconvenience. As they boarded their shuttle, Minji finally spoke. What do we do now? Deho looked back at the massive council chamber, then at the stars beyond. We go home. We tell them what happened here, and then we prepare. Prepare for what? For the day they realized they should have let us in. The shuttle's engines ignited, and they began the long journey back to Earth. Behind them, the Galaxy Council continued its business, confident in its power and certain of its decision. They had voted against Earth, had threatened humanity with extinction, and thought nothing more of it. It would be the last mistake they ever made. Captain Sunwoo checked his rifle one last time before nodding to his team. 15 soldiers, the best special operations personnel Earth had ever produced, stood ready in the cargo bay of a stealth ship. Each one wore adaptive armor that could shift its color to match any environment. Their weapons used technology that was decades ahead of anything the Council had seen. 5 minutes to target, the pilot announced through their helmet speakers. Lieutenant Nari moved beside Sunwoo, her expression calm despite the danger ahead. She carried enough explosives to level a small city, all packed into a case that looked deceptively small. Ready when you are, Captain. The target was a massive supply depot in Frontier Sector 7, a facility the size of a small moon. It stored weapons, fuel, food, and equipment for the Council's military operations across 3 sectors. Intelligence suggested minimal security, because the Council never imagined anyone would be foolish enough to attack it. They were about to discover just how foolish humans could be. The stealth ship slipped through the depot's sensor net without triggering a single alarm. Its quantum slip drive left no trace, no energy signature, nothing that would alert the defenders. They drifted close to the station's outer hull and attached to an unused docking port. "We are in position," Sunwoo reported. "Beginning infiltration." Back on the Indomitable, Admiral Hyun watched through the feeds from the team's helmet cameras. Beside him, Commander Jiwon monitored sensor data, while Captain Daeho, recently promoted to Strategic Coordinator, analyzed the mission parameters. "All quiet so far," Jiwon reported. "Their patrols are exactly where the drones predicted." The strike team moved through the station's corridors like shadows. Their armor adapted to match the metallic walls, making them nearly invisible. Twice they passed Council guards, species that looked like walking insects, without being noticed. Nari planted the first explosive charge on a fuel line junction. The device was smaller than her fist, but powerful enough to trigger a chain reaction. First charge set. Moving to position 2. They spread through the facility, each soldier planting charges at critical points. Fuel storage, weapons cache, power generators, life support systems. Every explosive was carefully placed for maximum effect. In the station's command center, an insectoid being named Counselor Plix monitored the day's reports. The supply runs were on schedule. The inventory was properly maintained. Everything ran like clockwork, as it had for decades. Plix felt the satisfaction of a job well done. Then an alarm screamed through the station. "Intruder alert in Section 7. A guard shouted. "Unknown contacts, armed and hostile." Plix's mandibles clicked in confusion. "How did they get past our sensors?" "Identify them immediately." The security feeds showed figures in adaptive armor, moving with military precision. They were not running away. They were fighting their way to the main cargo holds where the most valuable supplies were stored. "Those are humans," Plix realized with growing horror. "But how?" "They cannot leave their system." "Our blockade, they are stealing weapons and data cores," another officer reported. "We need reinforcements now." Sunwoo's team had reached the main cargo bay. While half his soldiers held off the station's security forces, the others loaded crates of advanced weapons and storage devices containing tactical data onto their ship. Every piece of information about Council fleet movements, patrol routes, and strategic plans was being copied and stolen. "Charges are set," Nari reported. "We have everything we came for. Time to leave." The firefight intensified. Council security forces, now fully alerted, poured into the cargo bay. But they used tactics designed for fighting other Council species, predictable and formal. Sunwoo's team used human tactics, aggressive and chaotic. They moved in ways the aliens had never seen, fought with a ferocity that shocked their opponents. "Fall back to the ship," Sunwoo ordered. Fighting retreat by the numbers. They moved in pairs, one providing covering fire while the other retreated, then switching. It was a dance they had practiced 10,000 times. Within 2 minutes, all 15 soldiers were back on their stealth ship with their stolen cargo. The ship's engines roared to life. It pulled away from the station just as Plix ordered all available vessels to pursue. "Do not let them escape," Plix commanded. "If humans have learned to bypass our blockade, the Council must know immediately." 3 Council warships moved to intercept. But the human ship activated its quantum slip drive and simply vanished. One moment it was there, the next it was gone, leaving no trace for them to follow. Plix stared at the empty space where the ship had been, mandibles trembling. "Get me the Council, now." 30 seconds later, Nari triggered the explosives remotely. The first charge detonated in the fuel storage, creating a massive fireball that tore through 3 decks. The second triggered a chain reaction in the weapons cache. adding its own destructive power to the inferno. One by one, every charge went off with perfect timing. Admiral Hune watched the depot tear itself apart on long-range sensors. Explosions rippled through the structure like a string of firecrackers, each one feeding into the next. Within 5 minutes, the facility that had taken decades to build and had cost billions to maintain was reduced to expanding debris. Target destroyed, Jiwon confirmed. No survivors, the bridge was silent. They had just killed thousands of beings, destroyed a critical military installation, and struck the first real blow against the Council. It should have felt like a victory. Instead, it felt like the start of something terrible. Captain Daeho broke the silence. "They will respond to this hard." "Let them," Hyun replied. "Commander Jiwon, transmit the coordinates for targets 2, 3, and 4 to the other strike teams. We hit them again tomorrow and the day after and the day after that. We do not stop until they understand." "Understand what, sir?" "That the cage they built was not meant to hold us. It was meant to hold them safe from us, and we just broke out." Over the next 2 weeks, human strike teams hit 6 more Council installations. A weapons research facility on the edge of Council space, a communications relay that coordinated their military networks, a shipyard producing their patrol vessels, a logistics hub that distributed supplies across 2 sectors. Each attack was surgical, devastating, and seemingly impossible. The Council could not understand how humans were doing it. The blockade around Earth remained intact. No human ships had been detected leaving the Sol system. Yet somehow humans were striking targets thousands of light-years away with perfect accuracy and timing. Counselor Plix finally discovered evidence at the 7th attack site. Microscopic traces of a propulsion system that left almost no signature, but by the time Plix reported this to the Council, presenting proof that humans had developed technology superior to their own, it was too late. The Council's supply lines were in chaos. Their outlying forces were running low on fuel and ammunition. Their communication networks were compromised. And worst of all, their member species were asking questions. How could a primitive species quarantined to one system be causing so much damage? What else had the Council been wrong about? In the Great Council chamber, Velthar called an emergency session. Its crystalline body glowed an angry red as it addressed the assembled representatives. "The human threat is greater than we anticipated," Velthar announced. "They possess stealth technology we cannot detect. They strike our facilities at will. They steal our data and learn our secrets. This cannot continue." Senator Kixtal's scales were pale with fear. "What do you propose, Council Prime?" Velthar's color shifted to deep crimson, the color of determination and violence. "We mobilize the Grand Armada. 10,000 ships. We do not blockade them anymore. We go to Earth and we end this threat permanently." The chamber filled with the sounds of agreement from hundreds of species. They had been humiliated by humans. Their pride was wounded. They wanted revenge. Only one voice dissented, the representative who had abstained from the original vote, an ancient being from a species that had seen many wars. "You are making a mistake. These humans are more dangerous than you realize. Then we will eliminate that danger," Velthar declared. "The vote is called. All in favor of exterminating humanity?" 846 lights turned green. Only one remained red. The Galaxy Council had made its decision. They would gather their greatest fleet and destroy Earth once and for all. They saw it as inevitable, as necessary, as the only logical response to humanity's aggression. They did not see it for what it really was, exactly what humanity wanted them to do. They would keep trying until either humanity was destroyed, or the Council its President Taijin stood before the camera array in Earth's global communication center. Behind him, holographic displays showed every major city on the planet. Billions of people were watching, waiting for their leader to speak. But this broadcast would reach far beyond Earth. Through captured Council communication networks, his words would be transmitted to every inhabited world in the galaxy. "People of Earth and citizens of the galaxy," Taijin began, his voice calm but filled with steel. "For months, the Galaxy Council has claimed we are dangerous. They have called us aggressive, primitive, and unworthy of joining galactic civilization. They quarantined us like diseased animals. They attacked our colony ships and killed innocent families. They sent 10,000 warships to destroy our home world. And through it all, they told you they were protecting the galaxy from humanity's violence." He paused, letting his words sink in. Across Council space, species who had never questioned their government, suddenly found themselves paying close attention. Today, I share with you the truth they have hidden, the truth about what the Galaxy Council really is. The displays behind him changed, showing documents and recordings that Junho had stolen from Council networks. Evidence that had been classified for centuries, kept secret from the very species the Council claimed to protect. 12 times before us, the Council quarantined species they deemed too dangerous. Species like the Ralvin, whose only crime was developing faster than light travel without Council permission. Species like the Tolmec, who refused to share their scientific discoveries. Species like the Yantir, who simply wanted independence. Images appeared showing worlds reduced to ash, entire civilizations wiped from existence, billions of beings murdered on Council orders. The Council did not quarantine these species to protect others. They quarantined them because they represented a threat to Council power. And when these species tried to break free, the Council exterminated them. Every man, woman, and child. Complete genocide. 12 times, Tejin's voice grew harder. They planned the same fate for us. We found the orders. In 3 months, if we had not shown complete submission, they were going to sterilize Earth. 8 billion souls erased because we dared to want freedom. The evidence continued to flow across screens throughout the galaxy. Species watching began to murmur, to question, to realize they had been lied to for generations. The Council's carefully maintained image of benevolent guardianship cracked and shattered under the weight of truth. But humanity refuses to be another victim of Council tyranny. We fought back. We defended our home. And now we ask you, the peoples of the galaxy, to see the Council for what it truly is. Not protectors, but oppressors. Not peacekeepers, but conquerors. Not guardians, but genocidal tyrants who destroy anyone who threatens their control. On the Council world of Axis Prime, Velthar watched the broadcast with growing fury. Its crystalline body shifted through violent shades of red and black. Around the Council chamber, representatives from dozens of species were already receiving emergency communications from their home worlds, all asking the same questions. Is this true? Did you know? Why did you hide this from us? Senator Kickstall tried to maintain order. This is human propaganda, lies designed to turn you against the Council. You cannot believe the documents are genuine, a technical expert interrupted. The encryption matches our systems perfectly. These are real Council records. The chamber erupted into chaos. Some representatives demanded explanations. Others called for investigations. A few simply left, no longer willing to be part of an organization built on mass murder. Over the next week, the Council's authority began to crumble. 18 species officially withdrew their membership, refusing to be associated with genocide. Dozens more threatened to leave unless major reforms were implemented. Public protests erupted on Council worlds as citizens learned the truth about their government's actions. Ambassador Soyon, working tirelessly from Earth's diplomatic headquarters, capitalized on the chaos. She contacted every species that had expressed doubts about the Council, offering evidence, support, and alliance. Within days, a coalition formed, species who wanted change, who wanted justice, who wanted to build something better than the corrupt Council. Minister Minji coordinated military operations with this growing coalition. 5 species provided intelligence about Council fleet movements. 3 offered safe harbor for human ships. 2 even sent military advisors to help plan operations. But the Council hardliners, led by Velthar and Kickstall, refused to surrender their power. In a secret session with only their most loyal supporters, they made a decision that would define their final days. We must show strength, Velthar declared. The other species doubt us because we failed to destroy Earth. We prove our power by using our ultimate weapon. Counselor Plix, who had been warning about humanity's capabilities for months, felt dread wash over its insectoid body. You cannot mean the stellar collapse array. That weapon is forbidden by every treaty, every moral code. It destroys entire star systems, and it will send a message that cannot be misunderstood, Kickstall hissed. We target Earth's sun. We collapse it into a black hole. The entire Sol system dies, taking humanity with it. Then the galaxy remembers why they should fear the Council. The vote passed among the hardliners. The stellar collapse array, a weapon so horrifying it had been banned for 3,000 years, was authorized for use against Earth. Captain Deho was reviewing intelligence reports when the alert came through. Sir, we have a Council convoy moving through Sector 12. Heavy escort, maximum security. Intelligence suggests it is carrying something critical. Daiho studied the data and felt his blood turn to ice. Get me Admiral Hyun immediately. Within minutes. The leadership of Earth's military and government gathered in a virtual conference. They are moving the stellar collapse array. Daiho explained, showing them the intercepted data. A weapon that can destroy stars. If they deploy it against our sun, Earth and everyone in the system dies. We have days at most. The room fell silent. Even Admiral Hyun, who had faced death countless times, looked shaken. This was not just defeat. This was extinction. Total. Absolute and unavoidable if that weapon reached its target. Then we stop them. Captain Sunwoo said simply. Give me command of our fastest ships. We intercept that convoy and we take that weapon. It is a suicide mission, Minji warned. The convoy will have their best defenses. Most of your ships will not return. Sunwoo met her eyes. Then they will not return. But that weapon does not reach Earth. Some things are worth dying for. Lieutenant Nari stood beside him. I volunteer for the mission. One by one, other officers stepped forward. Pilots, soldiers, engineers, all volunteering for a mission they knew would likely kill them. All willing to sacrifice themselves to save their world. Admiral Hyun felt pride and grief in equal measure. Approved. Captain Sunwoo, take our best ships and our bravest people. Stop that weapon at any cost. Sunwoo assembled his strike force, 50 of Earth's fastest, deadliest ships crewed by volunteers who knew this might be their last flight. They jumped through space using their quantum slip drives, racing to intercept the convoy before it reached Council space where reinforcements could arrive. They found the convoy 3 days later, protected by 200 warships. The odds were 4-1 against the humans, worse than the battle at Earth. But the humans had surprise, determination, and nothing left to lose. All ships. This is Sunwoo. You know what is at stake. You know what we have to do. For Earth, for humanity. For everyone we love, attack! The human ships tore into the convoy's escort like missiles. They did not try to survive. They did not try to retreat. They simply threw themselves at the enemy with absolute commitment, trading their lives to get closer to that weapon. Nari's ship was among the first hit. Her shields collapsed under focused fire from 3 cruisers. But before her ship exploded, she managed to destroy one of them and cripple another. Sunwoo watched his people die, each sacrifice bringing them closer to the target. His own ship took heavy damage, fires spreading through multiple decks. But he kept flying, kept fighting, kept pushing forward. Almost there, his pilot gasped through smoke-filled lungs. Target in range. Sunwoo armed every weapon his crippled ship still had. All remaining ships focus everything on the transport carrying the array. Do not let it escape. The surviving human ships unleashed a final, desperate barrage. Missiles, railgun rounds, energy beams, everything they had left. The transport's shields flickered and failed under the overwhelming assault. Sunwoo's ship was falling apart around him. Life support was failing. The engines were dying, but his weapon still worked for a few more seconds. For Earth, he whispered, and fired his last missiles. They struck the transport's engine core. The explosion was brilliant, consuming the transport and the superweapon it carried in a flash of light that could be seen across the sector. Of the 50 ships that began the mission, 5 limped away damaged but alive. 45 were destroyed, their crews dead. But the stellar collapse array was destroyed as well. Its threat ended. When news of the victory reached Earth, President Taejin addressed the planet again, tears streaming down his face. Captain Sunwoo and his brave crew have